Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Vito Lanuti here with TAP Instructional Videos. Let's open up the program and make a selection. Here we want to start a new trust, trust accounting. So we're going to go down in the bottom section here, Start New Accounting, and select Create New One Trust Probate Accounting. And we come to this section where we fill in the initial information, and the first thing we look at is the accounting type. And you'll notice that we have a drop-down menu here: the standard trust accounting, the complex trust accounting, and of course the probate accounting. Today we're going to talk about choosing between the standard and complex modules. This is probably the first question we receive from our users. When we look at the standard module, we're going to look at a bunch of different situations where the beneficiary will receive all income and all principal, where the beneficiary can withdraw all income and all principal, where it's a revocable trust, the grantor is still alive but not acting as trustee. Could be a number of situations there, many times a disability. And even in irrevocable trust, where there's going to be outright distributions, perhaps in the short term, staggered or interval distributions, or where the beneficiary holds a general power of appointment. So there's going to be many trusts that are going to be utilizing a standard module. The complex module is going to deal with irrevocable trust, and here's a typical list of irrevocable trusts where the complex module will be appropriate. The very familiar bypass trust, marital trust, GST, and charitable trusts. By way of example, you have a split between the income beneficiary and the principal beneficiary. They're not the same. For instance, income to her surviving spouse, remainder to stepchildren, and so forth. Income to the child, remainder to the grandchild, perhaps that's a GST trust. Income to the grantor, remainder to the charity, and that's going to be our charitable trusts. Then you have some hybrid situations. A longer-term trust with delayed distribution where the beneficiary may not survive the term. So if we had a long-term trust where the share is going to be held in the trust for 25 years, and then it goes to somebody else, that might be a situation where you'd make a judgment call and use the complex module. Support trusts that distribute out upon a satisfaction of conditions, suppose satisfactory test results from a drug test or something like that. You don't know if they're ever going to satisfy those conditions. You may select the complex module in those situations. Our guiding principle then for the standard module would be the primary beneficiary has access to all of the income and principal of their share, or in the case of a revocable trust, all remainder beneficiaries are contingent, or in the case of an irrevocable trust where the beneficiary holds the general power of appointment, likewise, the remainder beneficiaries are also contingent. Where you have outright distributions or staggered distributions, the likelihood of the primary beneficiary getting the entire share in a relatively short time is great. In the complex module, it's a little bit different. For instance, in our bypass trust, marital trust, etc., they are specifically designed to have two beneficiaries an income beneficiary, and then a remainder beneficiary. That relationship is going to be definite and certain. In our hybrid situations, for our longer term trust that's going to be held in trust for 25 years, and if the primary beneficiary survives that term, then he or she will receive the distribution. And you take a look at that beneficiary may be ill, or you don't want to take a chance that you want to have to go back and redo all this information. You can start with the complex module from the outset. Likewise, in our support trust, where we have conditions that may not be satisfied, it's the same consideration. Now we're going to look at a couple of statutes that apply here. In this situation, under Probate Code 1063C, we're required to show an allocation between receipts and disbursements. The complex module covers that in the receipts and disbursements portion of the software. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Then you have a situation where the fiduciary is not distributing all of the income, and in that particular situation, we have to keep a separate record of how much the income account is holding. And you could have a situation where you have discretionary distributions of income, discretionary distributions of principal. In that particular situation, the complex module has an income account summary and a principal account summary, which will satisfy those requirements. Now let's take a quick look at the software, and we're going to open up the A.A. Miller Trust, which I know already is under the standard module. You can also tell by the length of the drop-down menu in the account schedules, or over on the right-hand side, our little cheat sheet here, and it will tell you that you're in the standard module. All right, what we want to focus on here is our receipts and disbursements screen, and the first thing I want you to notice is our disbursements is a single column and our receipts are a single column. So if we want to add in a payment, and let's just say this is going to go to a CPA firm for $1,000, and we come and we have our drop-down menu and we select accounting fees. The one thing to notice here, there is no allocation of the accounting fees between income and principal. Okay, but we show that, and you'll see that our balance is reduced by $8,000, and we'll make one more entry. First Street rents. We get our $1,000 back, come through here, and we have our drop-down menu here that all of this is taken out of the Uniform Principal and Income Act. Okay, but here are our rents. We're back to our $25,000. Rents would be allocated to income, and let's see how that would happen. Our attention to the complex module, we'll open up the Joseph Johnson Trust and go to the receipts and disbursements. Let's get a clean bank account, Bank of America, and make a couple of entries. Here we have 2 columns for disbursements, 2 columns for receipts. So if we make an addition here and we go CPA firm, and we have our $1,000 invoice, we can split that invoice, $500 to disbursement from income and $500 from our principal, and save that. whoops, we have to select the category. So let's go selecting accounting fees. That sounds pretty obvious to me. And we save that, and you'll see that we have 500 in each category. We still have the math working correctly in the balance, where we reduce our balance by $1,000. Now we could slant that invoice more or less towards income or principal, depending on the situation. If that invoice involved principal more than income, or vice versa. Now we add in our first street, rents, which we talked about earlier, and rents are going to be income. So we come over here and add in the rents totally in the income column, and we save it. We're back to our $50,000 balance. Well, I almost forgot to show you the income account summary and the principal account summary, so let's just take a quick look. And we move over to the income account summary, and you can see the different figures here. Now, the income account summary in the complex module, as well as the principal account summary, will be part of the Excel report. If we come back in, we notice here we have income receipts of $1,500. Okay, and if we were to Microsoft is kind enough to send us some dividends of $3,000. Whoops, didn't get that far enough. Dividends right there, and we save that. You remember we had $1,500 in the account summary, and now we have $4,500. We're going to have a standalone video on the income summary and account summary, which will go into more detail. But since we're here, anything here in yellow is manually entered, and anything here in gray is carried from another screen. And here we have a total undistributed net income of $2,764. Now, if we look over here and take a look at the principal account summary, you can see, first of all, this is a healthy estate, $11.875 million. Not a lot of receipts and principal so far, okay, but you can see you get your ending principal too. So the point being, the principal beneficiary and the income beneficiary will know what their account holds, by glancing at the schedules that the complex module produces. In conclusion, when we look at the standard module, we look at the revocable trust where the grantor is alive but not acting as trustee, because that grantor may be able to revoke the trust or amend it. If that grantor is incompetent, then you would look to see whether there was an attorney in fact that had a right to amend or revoke the trust. And in that situation, you may still use the standard module. But if the situation is where the grantor is unable and the trust in your mind is irrevocable, then you're going to have to consider whether or not you would use the complex module in that situation. Even with irrevocable trusts in the standard module might be used if the beneficiary has unrestricted rights to remove property out of the trust, or the trust distributions are going to be made in a short term. You're going to have a short administrative period. Mom has passed away and everything is going to be distributed out to the children in maybe 6 months or 2 years. Those are short-term situations. You would use the standard module. The complex module is going to be used for irrevocable trust, and these trusts that we have listed here are generally going to be pretty substantial trusts. The incoming beneficiary and the principal beneficiaries are different, whether that's going to be child, grandchild in a generation skipping trust, or grantor and charitable remainder, or charity on the lead trust and individual remainder, or the parent and then the stepchild in the marital and the bypass trust. Then you have your hybrid situation where the distributions in the short term are uncertain because that beneficiary has certain restrictions, certain conditions that could result in the trust funds being held beyond their lifetime. In that situation, you need to make a judgment call as to which module you want to use. Remembering that between account periods, you can switch between the standard module and the complex module pretty easily. Well, that's it on the comparison between the standard module and the complex module, and I thank you so much for listening. I hope this gave you some good ideas and helped you with your decision making. Have a great day.